Mulgrew. Please join in a warm welcome from Miss Kate Mulgrew.
Shall I sit here, Evan?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Shall I lie down?
Get comfortable.
My psychoanalyst is about to begin. Here we go.
It's a far cry from your maximum security cell on the 6th season of Orange is the New Black.
Pretty bad, that, isn't
it? I'm fascinated by the show. Will you indulge me if I ask her a few questions about Orange is the New Black?
How many of you have seen the 6th season? That's not very many.
You know, for those of you that haven't watched the show, Genji Cohen has crafted a masterful show. It's been through an amazing evolution. It's 6 seasons now. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
First of all, what's it like to be on a Netflix show? It's different than being.
Well, you can imagine. It's like.
They roll out a whole season at once, and I mean, it's a different experience for me as a viewer.
Yeah. Well, this is truly the golden age of television. And I came up in broadcast TV since I've been on television since I was about 19. When I auditioned for Red 7 years ago, and they gave me that very slim and narrow piece of copy, I understood immediately and intuitively that this was going to be a different pony, and that I might want to jump on it right away. I knew that it was going to break the wave, and it did. I somehow just understood deeply and profoundly that the entire essence of television was changing, and that it was, as you just said, about to undergo a revolution the likes of which it had never seen before. And I wanted to be an integral part of that, and I had been. Orange is the New Black was the winning pony out of the gate. House of Cards was important, but as you all know, there was a tiny scandal attached to House of Cards. We don't do scandal on Orange is the New Black. And it's been marvelous.
I still think that there's a lot of mystery surrounding your character. Red, yes. Her family, their affiliation or proximity to the Russian mafia,
yeah.
And the implications of what happened that put you into prison are not entirely known. But from what I've gathered, if your family was not directly involved in organized crime, because of what your character did to, I believe, the wife of an organized criminal.
I punched her tit.
Yeah, and so for payback, I think you stored some corpses inside your freezer. Was that? Did I get that?
Very astute, Adam. Are you sure you're not right?
I'm remembering that right, but we never.
It is.
From that point,
I wasn't
how
involved.
you ended up in jail.
Well, it hasn't been laid out.
It hasn't been revealed.
But it will be.
I see. But is that sort of what?
I hope that's not a spoiler.
So I mean, sooner or later, they're going to discover that there's bodies in the freezer, and
they're going to discover something. And I think that it transcends even the bodies in the freezer. And as those of you in this room who are politically astute know, fooling around with the Russian mob is not a joyride, right? It's going to be trouble. It's going to be deep, deep trouble for Red. And because Genji is careful never to omit the tragic as she walks through these lives, she will tap into the very blood root of Galina Reznikov. And I think that there will be horrors exposed, sensitivities, the like of which I didn't think I'd ever have to play. I think it's going to be a path not only crooked, but extremely dark and rather tenuous this coming season. And I'm ready for it.
she's such a transformational character. Even her character arc has been itself transformational for you as an actress. She started out sort of ruling the roost. She had her gig in the kitchen, and nobody could touch her. And over the course of the seasons, her power has been stripped away, and she's become incredibly damaged and vulnerable. Just talk about that character journey that you've done.
Well, I would go back to Genji Cohen on this, and her longing to, or her need to, Or perhaps it's just her essential, extraordinary intelligence that leads itself to the truth. I've now been in prison for over 15 years, 16, 17 years, on an undisclosed infraction. And she's going to look at this woman and examine her from every angle, as you do an interesting prison. And she has. She's taken me from strength to strength. And then there was a buckling of the knees, and then there was a stumble, and then there was a fall. So now that I've fallen, I mean, I've been scalped, for heaven's sake, right? Debased in the worst conceivable.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, horrible, really sort of incomparably horrible. Now what happens to this fallen woman who is a certain age? In jail terms, I'm old, and I think she's going to want to put a fine lens on what it is to age out, in depression, having lost the essential piece of your character that allowed you not only to survive, but to thrive. And what that would mean to somebody like Red. And to somebody like Red, that's not going to be good. My guess is that's not going to be good.
It's so tragic, really, because I think the character has a depth of compassion as well, and has proven that she can be loving and nurturing and supportive in situations, even in prison. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a little sadistic to see what's happening to the character, but that, of course, creates great drama.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the head writer. If I were, I'd probably make a mess of it. I'd probably make Red some sort of heroine. But nobody's a heroine in prison. Prison is where we go to find out how broken we are. And by the way, we're all just a fraction of an inch away from it. That's why this examination of these particular lives is riveting. We all know that we're only fractionally away from trouble, right? If you're alive, you're only fractionally away from it. So Galena slipped on a banana peel. I punched a Russian woman's tit. I couldn't pay the fee, which was 50 grand, and for that, they slammed me in. But I also believe I pulled the short straw and took it for the family. You know, the other thing about it is, that's really titillating from the point of view of an actress is, the camera cannot lie. It's clinical, it's an instrument. You know, on Star Trek, I used to walk up to it every morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and kiss the lens. Are we going to be friends today? Are we going to be good buddies today? I need you, you need me. But sometimes it likes to play games. So Genji is saying, I get that Kate Mulgrew is strong, that she has a forcible personality, that she has a way of speaking and a way of being that indicates a kind of dominance, right? And even probably mettle, you could say, courage. Let's see what that looks like when it's taken away. So who's the actress in this game? Even on Voyager, ladies and gentlemen, and I got to play everything, I was always the captain, right? Well, yes, indeed. And I could always rest on that, because she was always the captain. That was a great thing. I missed that. That was so great. This is a different game.
On Orange, your ego has been successfully stripped away, bit by piece by piece.
Yes, but that's also important, because as I age in my own life, I think it's terribly important, and I've said this a zillion times, so it's redundant and rather dull, but I don't care, I'm going to say it again. It's very, very important that I personally age with a modicum of grace. I have been given the foresight to understand that I am a very privileged person, that my path in life has been, albeit crooked, albeit strange and up and down that mountain and through the valley and blah, 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 it has been nonetheless a life of incredible vigor, of mysteries unfolded, of tragedies overcome and triumphs won. So I feel that it's imperative that I age standing up straight and leaning into it with a kind of open and a vulnerable embrace. It's been a very, very good life. And Janeway was a big, big part of that. I'll say that.
Speaking to aging, and I'm not flattering you by telling you this, you look gorgeous.
Thank you.
And when I watch Kate on Orange is the New Black, she looks like crap. then I say to myself, oh my God, this Kate kind of doesn't look the way I remember her. But then when I see you in person, you're all beautiful and all good again.
But I want to ask you this question, Adam.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you've been running these things for a long time, very successfully. You understand this audience. And you understand that they're, I think, a vastly superior audience to most, right?
They're the best audience.
Well, you guys are smart. You're thinking on a different level. I've always said that I thought you thought on an exalted level. Why is it so important that our vanity remain intact as we age? Why are we not allowed to lose our looks? I'm very curious. Is there a woman who would like to answer that question in this audience? Is there a woman in line who would like to answer that? Somebody come forward. Why are we not gently?
I think it's for us to decide for ourselves how we age.
It dies so slowly.
You know.
I swear to God, I will go to my grave kicking and screaming, how do I look upon my death? It's appalling, isn't it? Why?
You know, you can't let the pressure of the world dictate that to you. It's what your own personal...
It's part of being an actress.
Okay,
People
maybe
fooling
so.
around with your face.
Well, evidently not in the case of your character on Orange is the New Black.
Well, they're fooling around with me, believe me. It's just not good, right?
Anyway, you kept it together beautifully, my dear, so for whatever it's worth.
And you too. Great. Should we take some questions?
Yeah, but before we do, let's just talk a little bit about, would you mind talking a little bit about your mom with me? Because she seemed to have been a very, very huge, important thing in your life. Now, if this isn't going to strike too close emotionally, and if it is, just tell me. But I think that your mom had a central, and then what you went through with your mom towards the end of her life, had such a profound impact on you. Could we talk about that at all, or would you rather not? And then we'll open it up. I know they're going to ask you all the Janeway questions.
That's an interesting question.
I'm much more interested in your life and your motivations and the things that made you.
Well, she is. But I think I've been frank about that. I wrote a book called Born with Teeth, but I have just. Thank you. That's very kind. But I have just finished my second book. It's been sold to HarperCollins, and it will come out in May of 2019. And it's all about my mother.
Wow.
And my father.
I can't wait to read
And
that.
it's called How to Forget, because my mother died of Alzheimer's, and my father died of heartbreak. And as they died, my father comparatively quickly, and my mother in a very protracted and agonizing way, I learned who I was vis-a-vis my relationship with their agony. Also, there's terrific humor in it. I came from an Irish Catholic family. That in itself is terribly funny, isn't it? But there's someone in life, if you're lucky, who you love like you love no other. And in this examination and writing of this second book, and I went much deeper this time. I really did. I said to myself, if you don't go all the way, then just don't write the damn thing. And I did. I went to Ireland and I wrote it. And I found out how much I loved her. I've always said that. You know, in a sort of cavalierly, I adored my mother. I loved her. She made me stand up. She gave me a realization of myself that I think without which I could not possibly have had the courage to go through the kind of life that I have had. She was extraordinary. I loved my father, too. I found that out in the deep exploration of, his motives, his ways. But I loved her more. And that's an extraordinary thing to know.
And then we'll go ahead and read the book, and that will inform us more about that amazing relationship that you have with her.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for that.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, we put a pin in that, and why don't we start over here, and we'll get, we'll start over there, and we'll get going.
Who's good at this lady?
Sure. Here we go.
Hi.
Hi.
Come on, sweetie.
Hi. I've actually read that book. I absolutely love it. You write so wonderfully. And I wanted to tell you how much you mean to me. And Janeway, just how there's so much strength in that character. And I've had issues with self-confidence and self-esteem. And I draw strength from Janeway, and I'm currently a third-year medical student. And
Good for you. That just deserving that. Good for you. What kind of medicine are you interested in?
family medicine.
Good girl. That's marvelous.
And so I also have test anxiety, and I have a picture of Janeway on my computer. And that's the last thing I see before I have to take my test. And so I want to thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure I want to see that as the last thing before our test, but thank you for that. That's lovely.
Thank you.
All right, but yes.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so great.
Good.
I just want to, first of all, thank you. When I was growing up, you were my introduction to Star Trek. Your show, your captain. And my mother, single parent, really looked up to you as a bastion of like courage and determination and resilience and strength. And I'm, seeing what that did to me then, like having an example of strong femininity to respect and like appreciate, it was just like, it's as mind-boggling and as subtle as it was in the original series having a black woman and an Asian man and all of these people together. Like, you don't realize it until later that, that some people don't see the woman or femininity this way. And so my question actually is, how did your experience of motherhood, like of having a child, and I know about the adoption, for example, how did that inflect your portrayal of Janeway?
This is a tough one because my boys came up through that 7 years. My boys were 7 and 8 when I got Voyager, and 15, 16 when I finished. So they became young men. And I wasn't around during the week because I was on the soundstage, right? I was there on the weekends. That was really, really hard. And I think your mother probably knew that in watching me. And your mother probably said, because any young mother watching Kathryn Janeway is going to want to know a little bit about the actress playing her, and they find out that I'm raising 2 small boys and I'm doing it alone. And she probably brings that to bear on her own experience with you. And she watches me and she says, if she can do it like this, then I can do it. And if that's what I gave, even a scintilla of that, then I am grateful. Thank you for that.
You're so damn insightful.
Thank you.
Amazing. How did you do that analysis? It's impressive.
He did it.
It's fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my name
All right.
is Louis, and I love you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yes.
Hi. As a single mom, how did you balance your boys and your career? I'm a single mom, and I find that I'm struggling
Yeah.
with that.
You're going to struggle. That's our plight. That's why women are so differently hardwired than men. We know that we're going to struggle. Whether you're a single parent or you have a devoted husband or father, it doesn't make any difference. The mother carries the weight of these young lives on her back. So you're just going to have to accept the struggle and learn how to dance with it. And I would recommend that you learn how to dominate it. Remind yourself of your value, of your extreme and essential importance to their well-being. That they, watching you go to work and struggle, will learn the value, the pride, and the greatness of women. Yes. You are a model to them. So show them the struggle and do not conceal it from them. Just tell them, boys, this is what it is to be a woman. So, are they boys?
I have a 16-year-old daughter.
You have a 16, oh, good luck. In which case, madam, you're allowed 3 martinis at the end of the day. And she should serve it to you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Hello, Kate. Thank you for coming. I really love you and I really admire you. And is it okay if I answer your question about looks?
Of course.
I think I'm the same age as you are. I'm 63 years old.
Oh, I don't think you are. She said, grasping her glasses. Oh my God, you look great.
Thank you. And I feel that, I don't know if it's innate or something learned, but I think humans just are attracted to beauty. I find that even in my students, I have to get up every morning and make sure my makeup's on, I dress really nice, I wear the heels, and I find that my students even treat me better. I just find that...
Your students treat you better when you look better?
Exactly, yes. When I
Little
dress...
creeps. Yeah.
When I dress down on Friday, they look at me and say, "Why are you dressed like that, Mrs. Lewis?" You know, so... But I find that I'm treated better everywhere when I try to look my best. If I go out, just run to the store without makeup or, you know, my hair not done, people don't treat me as well as they do as when...
So what do you think about all that?
I don't know, but...
Yes, I think you do know. What do you think about all of that?
It's a systemic problem we have. I don't know.
Well, it's just a thing of the species. I was in the pool yesterday with my boyfriend, and I was watching, as I am wont to do. God, I wish I had little binoculars, little field glasses in the pool. And I had draped a huge towel over my head, and I had a ball cap on, so they were looking at me, right? But I was studying the beautiful women versus the not so beautiful women, and the reactions of the men to them. And it's just endemic to the species, madam, that women do this in order to attract the opposite sex, or whatever sexual identification you have, in order to attract a partner. I get that, but I think at our age, you can walk into your classroom and say, "Here I am, take it or leave it." What is of value now is here and here. But we have to believe in ourselves. And unfortunately, it's a tough, tough fight. I fight it every day myself. Every single day. I mean, I see older women doing that, and I just wonder, what are you doing? What are you doing with your beautiful face? The thing of plastic surgery? I mean, these actresses going into their 80s, carved into what? Abyssinian rock. No more resembling their original beauty than a cloud. It's a terrible indictment of our culture and of our times. And it's reflective of our political position. Situation, I should say. I won't get into that. I won't get into it.
C'est la vie.
I
Yeah.
just want to say you're beautiful inside and out. I love you. Thank you so much.
You're beautiful too. What is it about that? It's a sadness. Men don't have it, do they? Oh, I know. You run and you've got your paunches and you're always going, but a woman just thinks, you know, in a sense, the culture puts us out to pasture.
Yeah.
We go through menopause and that's it. Of what use are we then to the culture? That's when our usefulness really begins, ladies.
Yeah.
It really is true. That's when all of your depth and your wisdom and your quality and your sensitivity and your heart come through. And when you should not give one flying you-know-what about what anybody thinks, right? Yes, sir. He doesn't want to ask me anything anymore, this poor guy. Yes.
I'll start a serious question. We're a month and a half away from 1 year anniversary of the October Route 91 Festival. I'd like to get your reaction. How do you think?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Did you hear it? I'm so sorry. Could you be a little more clear?
Oh, yes. We're a month and a half away from 1 year anniversary of the Route 91 Harvest Festival. I would just get your reaction to it.
Group 91 Harbor Festival?
What is it?
The medley shooting.
Oh. What is my reaction to that and to any shooting? I don't know what's going on. Do you? What is going on in our society? This has now become absolutely commonplace. We're all doing this now. Oh yeah, look at that, another shooting. Vegas, The nightclub, schools, all the better if it's a grammar school. Oh, 17 kids under the age of 5 shot. That's too bad. Who's the president?
Yeah, really.
Who is the president? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Excuse me. So I've been asking this to every actor because they all have different perspectives based on the character you played and the series you were on and your role, and I've learned something different from every different series. So I'm just curious from you and your perspective, what was the most valuable lesson you learned through your experience with the Star Trek franchise?
This is asked, and of course I answer it. But the great clinical psychologist, Jordan Peterson, with whom I've recently fallen in love, last night to be specific, I saw him on PBS, said, be very careful how you answer an important question. And draw yourself up to your full height, put your shoulders back, and lend yourself to it completely. So I would have to say that the most important lesson I learned was that no matter what else happens in my life, I will have the discipline to withstand any rigor. I learned the crucial importance of practicing discipline as a way of life. You came up to have your picture taken with me and you were dancing. You're a cutie. All right, is that a good enough answer for you?
That was wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
So overjoyed to meet you, thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I know it's not a rapturous answer, but ask yourself. She's asking me what was the most important lesson. I could say to her a million things. I could say, oh, to be the first female captain was extraordinary. Of course it was. To have an influence on women in science was incomparable. Of course it was. But what was the lesson that I learned? That I could stand on my feet for 18 hours a day, spouting that techno-gal from the lip of that bridge, while 50 men in suits watched me, hoping that I would fail, right? And just doing it. Doing it. I learned that. That was an important lesson. Yes, sir.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
When Jerry was here a couple days ago,
Yeah.
I said to her that this year will be 25 years for me officially diagnosed with autism. I wanted to ask you, when she joined as 7 of 9, and your character simply took her under her wing, trying to teach her what it means to be human again, and all those things, that's kind of how it was for me. My mom was always there for me while my dad was away working up here. And I just wanted to know what it took for you to prepare for that when it was written in the script and how you executed that.
Well, it was beautifully written by Brandon Braga. He was the main writer of that story. And it was a terribly important thing for Janeway to be endowed with that principle of humanity. Janeway, who is childless, who is stranded in the Delta Quadrant, and has managed to strand 165 of her complement, right? I missed the gas station, right? Is given a blessing in the form of a half-human, half-Borg, very beautiful girl, who we call 7 of 9. So I am taught vulnerability. I am taught my limitations. I am taught how small I am in the face of this kind of possible love. 7 of 9 is what brought Janeway to life as a deeply human woman, I believe. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your question. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Hi there. So as Janeway and obviously as yourself, you have a very commanding and powerful accent in your voice. Red has the same kind of command, but obviously with a much different accent and different inflections. Do people treat you differently because of the way you speak as Red and speak as Janeway, do you think?
I'm told people treat you the way you speak. I love that accent, don't you? Yeah, he's a dog. Do they treat me differently because of the way I speak? Yes, of course they do. I think it's very, very important. Janeway had a very, Janeway was eloquent and erudite. And she was also, she had an inherent command, which never left her, even under duress. I hope it never left her. That was my job, after all. And Red, with that thick Russian thing. You know, the Russians talk like that because it's so cold in Russia. That's true. My Russian coach, who I work with constantly all the time, I said, why do they talk so far back? She said, well, imagine you're in sub-zero temperatures all the time. You're going to start to talk in the back of the throat. The Russian accent does not bring people to you. Does it? It makes people stand a little bit away, which works for Red in the prison, but for Janeway on the bridge, this is what worked, right? Yeah. Thank you. What a good question. Very nice question. Are you Irish or Scottish?
Irish.
You're Irish, oh, you're a doll, you're a dolt. Yes.
Hi Kate, it's lovely to see you. I have to make two really quick comments before I ask my question. And I'm saying the first one as a European from a country with almost no gun violence. Please take the guns out of public, untrained hands.
What country are you from?
Germany.
She's from Germany. Did you all hear what she said? And what did you say? What was your preface? You're from a country where what?
Where there's almost no gun violence.
There's almost no gun violence now in Germany. Yes, we understand.
Also, second comment, my kudos go out to all single parents. My own mom has been a single mom for a long time, and I think she did a great job on all three of us. Thanks, Mom.
Yes, that's good. I'm riveted.
And thank you, Kate, because Janeway has been a great influence in most of my formative years.
Thank you very much.
So now my question, sorry.
Oh.
I've been following your audiobook work, and I've been enjoying You're Born with Teeth a lot. And also your Joey Hill readings.
Yes, I do Joe Hill all the time.
Okay, and my question is there anything in the works or planned? Are you going to do any new
My own book.
Yes?
I've signed it. Part of the contract is that I will do the audiobook of my own book, which is called How to Forget. Yes. That's an extraordinary thing to hear, isn't it? It may have to do with your wonderful Chancellor, Angela Merkel, in Germany too. She's a woman of unusual political acuity and sensitivity, although it's in trouble now. The world has never been in such turmoil, has it? I know you guys don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's where we're living now. Yes, you want to talk about it, don't you? Yeah, so do I. Yes. People need to vote.
Yeah. Get out of there.
Get into this. I know you don't want to dance, and I know, I get it. But the midterms are coming up. And if you ever want to do me a favor, get out and vote, okay? Serious business. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. So in Star Trek, we see a lot of actors that play multiple roles, but they do it with lots of makeup and prosthetics. But I'm obsessed with Murder, She Wrote, where you played a number of different characters. And I'm just curious about anything you have to say about being on the show and working with Angela Lansbury.
I just to say this about her. You know, in every career there are lulls, there are valleys. And when my children were very, very young, as is often the case with actresses, you have to take a year off to have these babies. In my case, I had Irish twins, so I had to take 2 years off because they're only 11 months apart. But in that time, and if you want to breastfeed them, which I did, in as little as 9 months, you can drop them off the radar in show business, unless you're some sort of absolutely some sort of Viking, which I wasn't. I was very busy attending to my little newborns who were, needed me, without whom they would not survive. So I had a lull. I said to my agent, you have to get me something. I've got to get back in this game somehow. And I ran into Angela Lansbury, who happened to be, her son was my next door neighbor, and she was visiting. And she said, Kate Mulgrew, I love you. And I said, not as much as I love you, and I'd love to be on your show. She said, don't say another word, darling. And I got an offer the next week, and I think she had me on 4 or 5 times. I was the murderer. I was the head. I was the murderer. And always looking my very best, you know. Wonderful. No finer or more generous woman has ever lived, and she's still going. You know that? She's on tour in Australia. She must be 85 years old. It's a knockout. Thank you for that. God bless Angela Lansbury, one of the best. Yes.
Hi, Kate. I'm sure in the 20-odd years since Voyager, you've heard stories like this many times, but I'm sure there are other people in the room who have had similar experience, so I want to ask. Voyager was on when I was a teenager, and I was in a very toxic, abusive household. Sorry. And for 1 hour a week, for 7 years, I got to escape that and go on this journey with you guys, and you were this central figure, and I'm wondering how it impacted you to know that you were able to give this beautiful gift to so many people who were hurting.
Well, that was a very brave thing to say, and a wonderful question to ask me, and a very serious question to ask me. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry that you had such a childhood, but obviously it's shaped you into a very articulate and brave and lovely woman. So if I had any part to play in that, my love, thank you. That's all. Thank you. I had no supervision as a child. Happily. She was so eccentric. She likes to say she had 18 miscarriages, my mother. Slight exaggeration, wouldn't you say? She had 8 children. And off we were sent in the day. Go, go, go. Couldn't have been 5 years old. Gone for hours. Come back whenever you want. Come back for dinner. There was very, very little on the table. She'd say, you should be lucky. You were born on firm ground. You're an American citizen. Thank you, Mother. Now let's have some chicken. Yes, what's your question?
Hi. Well, first of all, I'd like to say it's such a pleasure to hear you speak. You're so vibrant. I watched interviews with you. I didn't expect you to be so alive, I guess.
I'm putting my glasses up. I see. You're a very interesting, very, very interesting girl. Go on, go on.
So my question, my favorite episode in Voyager was Resolutions, when Janeway and Chakotay were stuck on the planet with an incurable virus.
Oh, we all know about that incurable virus. Yes, bring it on.
Yeah. My favorite part of that episode is how Janeway let her hair down, and you saw a very intimate part of Janeway, and especially with her relationship with Chakotay. And so I wonder, how did you develop that relationship trajectory? I love that you guys didn't get together. It was the best part of the show that you guys remained intimate and close and affectionate, but without the sexual tension.
She's laughing. Yes.
She must be a kid. Is she a kid?
You see, it makes people laugh, sexual tension. Yes.
I'm just nervous.
Okay, it's okay. So you want to know what? What exactly do you want to know? How was that to play?
Oh no, so as a woman in the industry, you've got women have a lot of pressure to conform to gender norms. And
do they?
Absolutely.
Do they?
Absolutely.
I'd say that's a choice, ladies. I'd say that's an absolute choice, sweetheart. What's your name?
Masha.
Masha. Especially now that we're looking in view of this Me Too thing, right? I'm on it. I'm in it. I get it. All right? I get it. I've been acting for almost 44 years. But it's a choice, right? To be who you are before you are a victim. You only become a victim if you allow it, love. Some are hurt. Some are hurt. Some get hurt. I'm not suggesting otherwise. But I'm saying you must make a character choice as you enter your young womanhood and say that this is the kind of woman you're going to be, right? Where men look at you and understand right away that you're not to be fooled around with. Nobody ever was. I mean, this is sort of pathetic. I suppose many of you women will weep for me when I say this. But nobody once suggested that I should go on the casting couch. And I was pretty when I was young, right? They never once said, well, if you meet me for a drink, guess what? Never once. They said, okay, all right, we'll figure out if you got the job or you don't have the job. Because I simply would not do it. I wouldn't do it. I didn't understand that. So I think you make it what you want to make it. And I am very sympathetic to those who cannot help it, or who have been otherwise hurt, and I am aware of that faction. But this is a choice for a woman like you, with your head on straight. Stand up. Just be a person, right? I've been a person in the industry. How do you think I've survived? Sweetheart, how do you think? That's it, right?
They have given us the end note.
That's the very end?
Yeah,
Can I take one more question?
Actually, no, you can't. I'm so
I can't.
sorry. But, wait a second. I'm giving you some space to say a few last words to everybody.
Let's say
Forgive me, because I gotta keep this thing.
Of course, there are many, many people here. As I said when I came out, and I really mean it, I mean, why would I fool? It's been 20 years, as somebody pointed out. You are the most astute intellectual audience I ever have been before, and you continue to be that. It seems to be a constant in this Star Trek fan base, because you're thinking ahead, never behind. And you're also thinking scientifically as well as intellectually. I find you exalting, I find you challenging, and you make me a better person, and I'm very grateful to you for that. Thank you for having me.